Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for coming here today, and joining us in this great seminar and event. We are here to hear from expert with knowledge. We have experts here that are going to lend us their knowledge, from a contractor to a representative from the LA County Assessors, a ADU appraiser, as well as an ADU developer. My name is Anita Smith, and I am the co-chair of the ADU event. And I'd like to introduce you to the other co-chairs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for making it today. We really appreciate your support, and I know this is going to be a fantastic event. My name is Tisha Janagian. I am the chair of the Equal Opportunity Housing and Diversity Committee for the board and co-chair with this lovely lady for this event. We just wanted to lay some ground rules. This is a live streaming event, so please be sure not to speak and have your phones on silent. If you do need to speak, go to the back or outside, please, so we don't interrupt the streaming. Thank you so much, and I'll let her introduce our first sponsors.
All right, so we do want to thank all of our sponsors. We certainly cannot do this without them. So our first speaker, I'm going to ask John Wax to come up from SNAP NHD. And here he comes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It's a great honor to be here back at SRAR, because this is a great association, and when they have these great events, it's great to be a part of them and be able to give back and learn how to be more successful in the industry. I've been doing natural hazard disclosure reports with SNAP NHD now for over 28 years. I am your consultant. I'm here to take you from the time you order the reports all the way through the transaction. As Matt and a lot of people know, they can contact me. I can answer the questions and make sure that you guys are informed so your transactions are smooth. The other thing is, I do recommend you order reports at time of listing, because now with things like the fire hardened defensive space CARD form that you have to deal with when you have properties that are in a high or very high fire severity zone, you have to deal with and maybe have to get the inspections or other compliance things done prior to close of escrow. So it's best to know that information up front. We not only are in the drop-down menu of the CARD forms, so you can use this for your RPAs and offers, but we're the only company licensed by CARD to include in the report, if the property is in a high or very high fire severity zone, the FHDS CARD form with the new addition, the decision tree. And when you fill out the decision tree, it paginates and fills out the FHDS CARD form, so you're not duplicating your efforts. All our reports are backed by $10 million, and we step in the shoes to protect you. Knock on wood, we've never had to use them. And my biggest tip to you, because we're now face-to-face, always wear your badges, have cards, pens, appropriate documents with you, because you never know where the next deal is coming from. We do it for commercial, residential, vacant land, mobile homes. Any sale of real property are required to have some form or nature of an NHD report and tax report. I do recommend getting the environmental also, because there are a lot of environmental issues that you have to be aware of. And when you get them up front, get them signed off, it's a done deal. Then you can move on to other aspects of your transaction. But if you want your NECs right on, please contact John. My information's out here. We're also having a raffle, so make sure you put your cards in my little container. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next sponsor, we will have Marlene from Only Escrow.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marlene Vides. I'm the owner and one of the escrow officers for Only Escrows, woman-owned company, minority-owned company, certified for both. We specialize in residential and commercial, but we also do niche transactions like gas stations, liquor license transfers, any kind of business that you can imagine that your clients are buying or selling, we can handle those. Okay, we also have a raffle for $50 Amex card. So come try your luck at the front, okay? Enjoy the seminar and thank you for being here.
Very much. All right, everyone. I'm going to introduce our contractor for today, Ani Asian. She's a great friend of mine. She's a master inspector developer. She can do anything you need with housing and ADUs. So come on up, Ani.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Awesome. So I'm guessing you guys are all real estate agents here. So when you show your clients houses, you want to show them something where they can actually build an ADU. Not only can you do an ADU, you can do a junior ADU. So a lot of people don't know that. We were doing ADUs in 2015-16 when nobody even knew what an ADU was. Best way to pay for half of your mortgage, you have 18-year-old kids who don't want to move out, you put them in an ADU. That's how I have a 3-year-old. So I'm like, I'm building my ADU just so I can put her there so she could be close to me, because that's what we want, right? That's what we all want. We want our kids close to us.
Better wait a while.
So obviously with COVID, it takes a lot longer to get permits. So if you do have a client who's purchasing and they know they want to do an ADU and it meets all the criteria, which the criteria is so much easier now than it was 8 years ago, get started on the plans. Planning is number one. Planning used to take 2 months to get an ADU. Now it could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I've even seen 8 months. So you're waiting around for permits. The sooner you get started on permits, the better. Get a good architect, design it the way you want. Laundry inside, you can have a cute patio. Just make it good for the tenant who's going to be living there so you can get top dollar for your ADU. Junior ADUs have to be attached to the property. They cannot be detached, but a regular ADU can be detached or attached. Why not maximize it while you can? We don't know how long they're going to be available. It could be next year, and guess what? Permits are gone. There's no more ADUs. Get the permit, even if you don't want to do it yet. You have 18 months to build it. So I recommend everybody, even new buyers looking, look for something that where you can actually have the ADU. Any questions about anything?
When you said 18 months, that's after the RTI is issued?
Yes.
I have a question. The junior ADU could be the garage, or also could be an attached unit to the back of the house.
Yes, as long as it's attached. So maybe you want to add square footage. Add square footage and make that the junior ADU, but it has to be attached to the property. It can't be detached.
Now, I have one more question. You said 18 months, so let's say the RTI is issued, we have the inspector come to the property, would that 18 months be extended?
No,
How does it work?
it's not going to be. You have the 18 months to complete it. You can always ask for an extension if you need one. The city's pretty good with that. You
Would
can ask
asking
for an
for the, asking for the extension possibly bring about the necessity to go and have the plan check again?
No.
No? Thank you.
What is required for a permit? You need to have a plan or?
You need to get the architect, they draw the entire house, they draw out the ADU, you have the interior, the elevations, the interior plans, exterior plans, and then you submit. So you get assigned a planner looks at everything, they have corrections, architect fixes them, and then you get RTI and you can go pull the permit. And you can do owner builder. You don't need to have a contractor to pull your ADU permit.
So you don't have to have a general contractor working on.
You can do
plans.
owner builder.
We have another question.
Yes. Do you or your company provide these various services or personnel to draft, the architect to draft?
Yes.
You do the building?
Yes.
So you can be serve as a one-stop shop, start to
Exactly.
finish?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
So my question is,
Let me do this so everyone can hear what we're realizing.
my question is, on building an ADU, does it have to be attached to the garage, or can it be?
It can be detached. I did one in Encino, beautiful 2-story detached. It wasn't a garage, it was just detached. It was new
So
construction.
with it being detached, would it apply to the SB 9 or SB 10?
Yes,
It would?
Yeah.
So then you would have to make it a half an address,
yes.
or, so you'd have to split the parcel? Is that a longer
You don't have to
process?
split it, but you need to have your own address. You're gonna have your own separate address assigned to it. Now, you can do a separate gas best way to pay for half of your mortgage. You have 18-year-old kids who don't want to move out, you put them in an ADU. That's how I have a 3-year-old. So I'm like, I'm building my ADU just so I can put her there so she could be close to me, because that's what we want, right? That's what we all want. We want our kids close to us.
Better wait a while.
So obviously with COVID, it takes a lot longer to get permits. So if you do have a client who's purchasing and they know they want to do an ADU and it meets all the criteria, which the criteria is so much easier now than it was 8 years ago, get started on the plans. Planning is number one. Planning used to take 2 months to get an ADU. Now it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I've even seen 8 months. So you're waiting around for permits. The sooner you get started on permits, the better. Get a good architect, design it the way you want. Laundry inside, you can have a cute patio. Just make it good for the tenant who's going to be living there, so you can get top dollar for your ADU. Junior ADUs have to be attached to the property. They cannot be detached, but a regular ADU can be detached or attached. Why not maximize it while you can? We don't know how long they're going to be available. It could be next year, and guess what? Permits are gone. There's no more ADUs. Get the permit even if you don't want to do it yet. You have 18 months to build it. So I recommend everybody, even new buyers looking, look for something that where you can actually have the ADU. Any questions about anything?
When you said 18 months, that's after the RTO is issued?
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question. The junior ADU could be the garage, or also could be an attached unit to the back of the house.
Yes, as long as it's attached. So maybe you want to add square footage.
Yeah.
Add square footage and make that the junior ADU, but it has to be attached to the property. It can't be detached.
Now, I have one more question. You said 18 months, so let's say the RTO is issued, we have the inspector come to the property, would that 18 months be extended?
No.
How does it work?
It's not going to be, you have the 18 months to complete it. You can always ask for an extension if you need one. The city's pretty good with that. You
Would
can ask
asking for
extension.
asking for the extension possibly bring about the necessity to go and have the plan check again?
No.
No?
Like, what is required for a permit? Do you need to have a plan?
You need to get the architect, they draw the entire house, they draw up the ADU, you have the interior, the elevations, the interior plans, exterior plans, and then you submit. So you get assigned a planner looks at everything, they have corrections, architect fixes them, and then you get RTI and you can go pull the permit. And you can do owner builder. You don't need to have a contractor to pull your ADU permit.
So you don't have to have a general contractor working on
You
the
can do
plans?
owner builder.
We have another question here.
Yes. Do you or your company provide these various services or personnel to draft, the architect to draft? And
Yes.
do you do the building?
Yes.
So you can serve as a one-stop shop, start to
Exactly.
finish?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
So my question is,
Oh, here. Let me do this so everyone can hear what we're realizing.
my question is, on building an ADU, does it have to be attached to the garage, or can it be?
It can be detached. I did one in Encino, beautiful 2-story detached. It wasn't a garage, it was just detached. It was new construction.
With it being detached, would it apply to the SB 9 or SB 10?
Yes,
It would?
Yeah.
So then you would have to make it a half an address?
yes.
Or, so you'd have to split the parcel? Is that a
You
longer
don't have to
process?
split it, but you need to have your own address. You're gonna have your own separate address assigned to it. Now, you can do a separate gas meter, separate electric meter. Not a lot of people wanna spend that extra money. I highly recommend it, because why would you wanna pay for their utilities?
Got it.
A lot of people don't, but it's an extra, maybe, I don't know, $4,000 in a meter upgrade, but it's gonna save you so much headache and time is trying to figure out how much is your bill, how much is my bill. Just do 2 separate meters. I always recommend that.
Got it. And then is your office located in the valley?
We have offices here and in Palm Desert, so yes.
Thank you.
Can you do an ADU to a triplex?
You know, I've seen some people do that. It depends on the lot size. So if you guys can all shoot me a text, tell me the property address, and I can give you a whole rundown of what you can do with that property. I have
So
no
it's
problem
just
with
depending on
that.
the lot size and I imagine parking space.
Yes, parking spaces. Are you within 1,500 feet of a bus stop? There's a lot of things that apply.
Okay, we're going to take one more question and then move on to the next speaker because we have a lot of information to cover and we'll save the rest of the questions for the end of the session. Go ahead.
What's the cost on a permit for a 20 by 20 garage already built?
So I've seen some at 4,000, I've seen some at 7,000, so it depends. School fees are very expensive, just so you guys know.
Great. Cool. Let's go ahead and introduce the next.
Special Assistant at the LA County Assessor's Office. So we're going to talk about some of the property tax implications of installing an ADU in your backyard or wherever you wish. But before we get into the presentation, I have on the screen here a roadmap of some of the topics we'll be talking about. What's the assessor's general role? Prop 13, which is kind of the foundation of all property taxation in California. Accessory dwelling units, how we assess that and how that might affect your property taxes, and then some additional resources. So first off, what does the assessor's office do? Our office is responsible for the location and valuation of all taxable property in LA County. So that's real property, which you're probably most involved with, and then things called business personal property, things like boats, aircrafts, any other type of equipment or furniture that's used by business owners to run their business. So we value all of that. When we come up with those values, we send them over to a different county department. It's called the Auditor Controller's Office. They apply the appropriate tax rate to that value, and then when that's calculated, it comes out with the tax amount that you should see on your bill every year. So that's kind of an overview of both our office and then what the county tax system does in general. Prop 13, what is that? Prop 13, like I said, is the foundation of property taxation in California. And essentially it says, when you purchase your property, we're going to establish its value, the fair market value as of the date of the purchase. Every year after that, your tax base can go up a maximum of 2%. So essentially what that allows you to do is have a predictable tax amount every year. You're not going to see wild fluctuations like you might have before Prop 13. There are two exceptions where you might get pulled out of that 2% annual increase. That's when there's a change in ownership, like a sale or other type of transfer that isn't excluded from reassessment, and when there's new construction, partial or complete new construction. And that is what mainly is involved with this discussion on ADUs. So the main question that we get with ADUs is, if I build an ADU in my backyard, are my property taxes going to go up? And the short answer is yes. The next question we get is, how much? And that's sort of going to depend on the size and the expenses that are incurred when you're building your ADU. So like I said, under Prop 13, people wonder, oh, I'm building an ADU. It's not necessarily what they regard in their mind as new construction. But when you either convert an existing structure or build from the ground up, that by definition for the assessor's purposes is considered new construction. So in that case, we would go in and reassess the property. Now, what does that entail when we go in and reassess the property? We'll get to that in a second. But how do we know, first of all, that there's been new construction on the property? So, like was pointed out earlier, when you are in the planning phases, you're going to go through a whole approvals process with building safety, city planning, things like that. And when they complete their plans and you receive permits, those are forwarded to the assessor's office so that we're aware that there is work being done at a particular property. And then also, when that work is completed, we receive documentation to inform us, you should go and take a look and see what's been going on at this property. So that's sent to us, and that's what triggers us to go in and revalue. How do we revalue? First of all, it's important to note that when new construction is completed of the property, we do not reassess the entire property. We don't go in and revalue based on market value of the property as of the date of new construction. It's something a little bit different. So again, this applies both to ground-up construction and then conversions. But what we do is we value the new construction only. We don't touch the rest of the property, the land and existing single-family residence value. That stays intact. But what we use is what's called the cost approach. Essentially, we determine what it costs to build an ADU. What we use are what are called regional costs. It comes in a manual that we go off of every year. The one I believe our office uses, it's called Marshall and Swift. And again, they're regional costs. So that's important to keep in mind because in certain circumstances, you may be able to save a little money here and there in the construction process. Whether you know your buddy owns a lumber yard, he's going to be able to get you some cheap materials, or if you're saving on labor, you're doing some of it yourself, or you know someone who can help you out. So those are things that may assist in actually saving you on the cost. But again, because we use these regional costs, when we go in and reassess, it may not be exactly the cost that you used when constructing your property. And if you want to dispute that later on, the value that we come up with based on the value, on the cost that you use, there is a process, and I can talk about that at the end here, but that's the general process. So once we come up with the figure or the value of that ADU, what it costs, we will take that figure and add it onto the existing assessed value of the land and single-family residence that's already there. And so what you'll have is your existing tax base plus whatever, the value of whatever you added on. So I have an example here. You've got a $1 million home. You decide that you're going to build an ADU from the ground up. The ADU costs $200,000. I don't know if that's expensive, inexpensive, but after we reassess the property, as you can see here, we're just going to tack on that value of the ADU on top of the existing value. So whereas you were paying $1 million or property taxes based on $1 million before, after the ADU has been completed and we go in and reassess, you'll be paying on $1.2 million in value. So that's a ground up example. The second example, we've got a single family residence and it's got a detached garage. So there's already a structure there that kind of serves as the bones for an ADU that you might want to put in. So the owner decides that they're going to convert the garage into an ADU. Again, at the initial stage, before they do any improvements, it's $1.2 million. The ADU, we assess it at $100,000. So after the total reassessment process, the property owner will be paying taxes on $1.3 million as opposed to that $1.2 million before the new construction or the ADU was completed. So that kind of covers our general role and process for ADUs. I have on our screen here our webpage from the Assessor website, and it goes over kind of the general ADU topic that I've gone over here today, as well as some of the assessment process. And then also, we've done a couple of ADU seminars with regard to what I've talked about here today. We have those videos of those seminars on our website, so if you missed anything that I said here today, or you've gone through some of the other materials on that ADU webpage, but want kind of a verbal explanation, we have our Director of District Appraisals, Jennifer Budzak, who went over the process, and she's an appraiser, so she deals a lot more with the numbers than I do, so that may be helpful to take a look at. But that completes basically everything that I have to go over from the assessor's office standpoint, but I've included our phone number and the website address here in case you have any questions on what our office does, and if you are planning on taking advantage of this this benefit, you know, essentially what we might do in a particular circumstance. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, but I'm happy to take any questions that you might have right now.
Everybody for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. And now what I'd like to say about ADUs is I get a lot of questions from agents and homeowners as to what's the best investment you could actually do to their home as far as adding value to their property. And ADU is definitely the way to go. You could have a pool or any other type of amenity, but when it comes to dollar per dollar investment on your return, ADUs are the ones that give you the biggest money on your actual investment. And there's not a set price on the value of an ADU that we give because every ADU is different depending if you go with an attached one or how much you actually spend on your ADU. It's the same as like a pool amenity. You could go with a basic pool, which let's say is $35,000, $40,000, and it's only going to give you a market value of about $25,000 at the most. The same with an ADU. You could spend up to $200,000 for an ADU, or as low as $50,000 for, let's say, a garage conversion. Depends on what location the ADU is located in. The values would vary between them, and once again, at the quality of the ADU. Of the majority of the ADUs I've seen are here in the Valley. The ones that I know borrowers have spent, let's say up to $200,000, they get a value back on the value of their property, pretty much the whole amount. Between $200,000 to $250,000 is what I've seen in value increases from an ADU to a non-ADU property. And in other areas where they're not as popular, let's say, depending on what they invested in it, a garage, if they put $50,000 on it, I've seen values as high as $75,000 for a garage conversion. One thing I do want to point out on an ADU is the same as an amenity to a property. Okay, so if you do get an ADU or convince one of your investors to add an ADU to a property that they're thinking about investing in for rental, and yet you want them to maximize their return on their money, it's the same as, like I said, a pool amenity, where you could add a pool and you'll get a little more for rent, but in my opinion, the value would be more on an ADU. You add an ADU to it, it might cost you the $200,000, but you have the rent that you'll be generating from it, where you won't be getting that from a pool, and you'll have the rent that you'll also be able to, that extra rental income that you would be able to take advantage of. One thing for you agents that's really important is the fact that I mentioned that the ADU is the same as a additional amenity to the property. If you do have a, let's just say 1,000 square foot home, and they're adding a 500 square foot ADU, when you advertise your home on the MLS, your home is a 1,000 square foot home with an ADU. Do not include the additional 500 square feet of the ADU to the size of your home when you're advertising your home. Because there's homes out there that are 1,500, 2,000 square foot home with an ADU, that doesn't necessarily mean your home is a 2,000 square foot home. As appraisers, what we try to do is we try to get a market reaction as far as what the market is doing out there and what they're looking for. If you have a buyer that is looking for a 2,000 square foot home with an ADU, that's what they need. They need a 2,000 size square foot home with the ADU for the in-laws or for the kids or for whatever use they want to have it for. They would not consider a 1,500 square foot home, or let's say 1,000 square foot home, including the ADU. So for that reason, I do get a lot of the, when I'm searching for comps to use with ADUs, I typically run into that problem a lot. I'm thinking I'm comparing it to a similar, let's say 2,000 square foot home. When I pull the information, public records information on that one sale, I'll come to realize that the agent actually is selling a 1,000 square foot home with a, let's say 800 square foot ADU. And that kind of throws everything. It makes a lot more work for the appraiser. But so just keep in mind, when you do advertise an ADU, it's like advertising a pool amenity or any other feature that would help sell that house. So, any questions? Yes.
So let's say in a specific area you don't find comps, would you use the income approach or cost approach, the ADU?
When it comes to looking for comps, we would not use the income approach or the cost approach. Basically, what we do is we expand our search parameters as far as into similar competing neighborhoods in order to come up with
Even though it's like lower neighborhood, you still have to go, let's say from Studio City to Valley Village or to Van Nuys.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. We'll still expand it. We'll make adjustments if it is an area where the market, let's say, does demand a higher premium. Let's just say you're south of the boulevard compared to the south side. We'll have to make a location adjustment. But in reality, I know that with lenders or your typical buyer, once again, we're trying to do what market reaction is doing for these properties. If you have a buyer that is looking for a home with an ADU as an investment or as a property to live in, a lot of times a buyer would consider a home, let's say in a neighboring community, as far as it has the features that they're looking for, the size and the amenities they have. So for that reason, lenders usually want us to either expand or go further back within the 180 days that we have and make time adjustments for using comparables with an ADU, let's say.
The reason I brought the income approach because a lot of agents advertise ADUs in income-producing properties instead of residential.
Yes.
On MLS, so that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing for you to do.
Pro forma.
Yeah, it's a great thing for you to do to show the potential of income on the property. But I know right now, with single-family homes, the way the city assesses the properties, they're still single-family homes. They're not income properties. Income properties are anywhere between 2 to 4 units. It's a different report at that point. So when you get an ADU, it does not make your single-family home now a duplex or an income property. And for that reason, we do not consider it income. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, how much? Let's say you had a 500 square foot ADU versus 1,000. How much more value are you adding to the home for over and above the original home value for something like that?
It would depend on the quality of the ADU. There's not a set price with the appraisal process. It's not a a science, let's say it's an art. So every area varies in price. I mean, it could be an ADU, let's just say in Studio City, which would demand a much higher premium. That extra 500 square feet, let's say, could give you an extra 100,000 on it, depending on the room size and what the market is looking for within that area. So it's the same like with a pool amenity. You can't say every pool that someone adds to a house is basic 15,000, 20,000. Depending on the quality of the pool, you'll see pools in Encino that they spent 200,000 to build, with beachfronts and pools and bars inside of them or so. That pool will not demand a market value of about 25,000, 30,000. It would demand more of a, let's say, $100,000 value for the pool. So it's not a set figure. Best thing to do is if you have a potential of an ADU in a specific neighborhood, you would want to see what ADUs in that neighborhood are selling for, and then see the difference between the ADUs as far as the size and the quality. And at that point, every neighborhood has a high and a low range. If you're thinking about going with the minimum on an ADU, then the value for that ADU is going to represent the low end of that value. If you're going to go all out with the new construction ADU, really good quality, detached, let's say even 2 stories, as she mentioned that they could do, at that point, your ADU value would probably be at the higher end of that value range for the ADUs. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions?
I have a question. Does the income that the ADU brings in adds to the value of that property?
No, it does not add to the value when it comes to lender purposes for single-family homes. But if it's an income property, a 2 to 4 unit, then at that point it does.
Okay, so let's say we have a SFR, single-family home, and then they built a regular ADU and a junior ADU on top of the garage.
Yes.
Now you have 1 plus 2. I would look at that as a duplex?
No. It would still be a single-family home with 2 ADUs, a junior ADU and a detached ADU.
Okay, but both ADUs are bringing in income. You're bringing tenants in.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
That's an income property.
Yes, it is if it's an investment property from the owner that owns the property. So this would be a question to a lender, let's say.
Yeah.
You could say to a lender, hey, that's my second home. I use it as an income property. This is the amount of income I'm producing from this one property for the 3 units. At that point, they will use your income for loan purposes.
It's entirely dependent on the type of loan you get.
Okay.
Yes.
But aside from the loan, because this is exactly what I'm doing for my own home.
Yes.
Recently I got a RTI for a 2 stories, 1,200 square foot ADU. And I want to go ahead and do a junior ADU on top of my garage. My insurance agent told me, as soon as you build the ADU, the 1,200 square foot, now you cannot get residential coverage. You got to go into 2 to 4 units.
I think you need a new insurance person.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
So that's what I was told, and I would imagine if I'm letting tenants in, that's no longer a residential property, it's an income property.
Yeah, I would question, I can't answer for the insurance agent on it, but I would definitely push the fact that the city still has your property classified as a single-family home with 2 detached, let's say, ADUs. But still, the legal description of your property will still be single-family residence.
Okay, even though there are 2 different addresses added to it?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Are the different addresses a requirement or is that optional?
That would be probably a question for the assessor.
They're required.
They are required?
Yeah.
And can you build in an ADU in a community setting where there's an HOA involved? Or is that up to the HOA itself?
They will not allow it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even if they're detached structures?
Yeah, they will.
Okay.
I haven't seen one yet, so.
What was the question?
If an HOA community would allow an ADU.
How legally they have to?
I'll address that in my presentation.
Okay.
I'll address that.
What's the difference between a single-family residence with a detached ADU and a duplex?
The duplex comes up as an income-producing property. It's just the classification that the city gives for the property. Duplex is once again, an income property that could be up to 2 to 4 units. So at that point, mostly the duplexes are investment properties. They're not actual at home. When the city came up with the purpose for the ADUs, they were to try to control rent control, or to have you an opportunity to have your in-laws or kids living with you a little longer, not so much to convert your property into income properties.
Okay. So does it have anything to do with whether you have to have a hearing?
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have one more question. Can any of you guys talk about a certain parcel of land with a single family home on it, with the new laws that they came up, you can build a second house? And
I'll be addressing that.
180 for each? Yeah, thank you.
Was there any other questions? Yes.
A quick one. So when you convert the garage, first of all, so does it qualify as a junior or ADU? Junior ADU or ADU?
It'll probably be.
Junior ADU has to be attached, it can't be detached.
Let's say attached garage.
Even if it's just an ADU, because you haven't done a junior ADU yet. You have your first ADU and then you do your junior ADU.
Okay. And the limit for a junior, how much is it, the square footage?
It has to be less than 500 square feet and it has to be attached.
And the ADU is still under 1,200?
Yeah, depending on the size of the house as well, and your lot size.
Thank you.
This would be a junior?
What's the minimum size of the garage where you can build up to a ADU and a junior ADU if it's going to be within the same garage?
Again, depends on your lot size. If it's detached, I've seen some at 1,200 square feet. I've seen some that only get approved for 800 square feet.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I just want to leave you with, if you ever have any questions when it comes to any appraisal questions or any issues you might be having with your listings or sales, my service is always available to you. It's something that, get my card before you leave, and if you call me anytime, if it's something that I don't have to give you a written report, it's something I do for free for you guys. So just, feel free to call me if you have any appraisal questions or any issues you're having with an appraiser, or just some type of guidance as far as, any neighborhood that you might be in. I'm always available for you guys. Okay, thank you.
We all know that we're in a housing crisis, but you might not realize this also means that we are in a care crisis. The Newmans, Betty, Mark, they could care for their families and for themselves, and they could just put an ADU in their backyard. But building an entire house, even a mini one, is scary and overwhelming, and most people just don't know where to start. Hi, my name is Kendall, and I am the managing partner for ADU Digs. We make building a gorgeous ADU in your backyard simple and cost effective. Now we know you have a lot on your plate, so our customers, they choose from a library of pre-designed and approved architectural ADUs, choose from prefab for speed and convenience, or site-built for flexibility. Either way, we deliver a complete construction experience from permits to keys. Aren't they pretty? I'm so
They
thrilled.
are.
I know, for a second, right? Okay, so, sorry, I just get a little thrilled with myself. So, let's start with the basics. Some of this you've already heard, but this is a presentation I give at this point all over the state. What is an ADU? It stands for accessory dwelling unit. That means it's twinsies with a house. It doesn't get to be by itself. It has to be an accessory to the main dwelling. Now, can you take one of my, structures and pop it out into the San Joaquin Desert? Sure, have a ball. It's not an accessory dwelling. It's a mini house at that point, right? But that's what an ADU is, and it's a private backyard home. It's independent. That's why you can rent it, or shove your mother-in-law in, as you choose. You do you, boo. Now, the ADU trend the velocity is heart-stopping. In 2019, ADU permits tripled over the previous year. And that was before the 2020 ADU laws passed in California that made it way easier for millions of California homeowners to add an ADU in their backyard. And a lot of them have space for a detached ADU. In a study by the SEOC, they found that more than 3 million parcels in Southern California alone had enough room for an 800 square foot detached ADU. I believe that ADUs will become as ubiquitous to our homes as 2 bathrooms are today. Yeah, so that's how much demand there is. So what you really want to know is, can I put an ADU in my backyard, or can your clients do it? We went through some of the rules. I'm just going to flesh it out a little bit more. First and foremost, as our esteemed colleague at the end said, there are 3 basic types of ADUs. Your converted garage, which is by far the most popular, but there are some concerns on that one, especially if you guys are doing business mostly in the valley and like where I am in Glendale, right? So how many have garages that are right smack dab on the property line? Yeah, okay. You want to expand that in any way, sides, back, front, up, you're gonna have to knock that thing down and move it 4 feet away from the side. So converted garage, your clients are all going to want them. Make sure you talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about, like her on the end or myself, because it's not as simple as most people think, but it is the most popular and is the least expensive. Detached ADU we've talked about, and attached ADU is the J ADU's got to be attached. So let's talk about the garage conversion again. If the garage is attached to the house, like some of our ranch styles are, that could be a JADU. My understanding is that you can have a JADU without an ADU. If you convert the space of the garage as a JADU, you're good to go. You don't have to have a separate detached 500. If you have a master bedroom, don't want to have it, maybe you want to make a JADU for one of your kids who hasn't flown the nest yet, but you just don't want them all up in your grill, then you can convert that master bedroom into a JADU as long as it has an exterior entrance. You don't even have to have a dedicated bathroom for that puppy. Don't know where they're going to go potty. I'm not going to ask questions. I really don't want to know. Okay, how many ADUs can you have? So, if your lot is zoned some variation of R1, and I've seen a bajillion, everybody has read title reports up the yin, right? R1 has a lot of formations, but if it says R1 whatever, then you can add 1 detached ADU and you can have 1 junior ADU. If you have 2 to 4 or more, then you can add up to 2 new ADUs and convert up to 25% of the space in the existing building into ADU. So here's a little tip, and it's worth the price of admission. For those of you who are in commercial real estate, here's what you could do. You could be building a multi-unit development, and you could be setting aside a lot of space for recreation rooms, storage rooms, garages, what have you. And so you get it all approved, you get your certificate of occupancy, and once you've got your C of O, there's nothing to stop you from going in and converting that space into ADU rental doors. It's a way to get away around density laws. Not that I said that. Oh, it's streaming. Sorry. But it's true. It's a loophole. It's going to get closed, but that's the way it is right now. Okay. ADU best practices. So if your ADU, and we're talking detached, is less than 800 square feet, the city can't say no. Now, the laws say that you can go up to 1,200 square feet, but if you go above 800 square feet, now the city gets to have a vote, and some cities, I'm looking at you, San Marino, are gonna say no. Yeah, so you can go higher, but it's going to be up to your city's guidelines for their ADU guidelines as to whether or not they're going to approve it. But anything under 800 square feet, they don't get to say no. In addition, if it is less than 740 square feet, 750 square feet, then they cannot attach an additional impact fees. So impact fees, the way I think of them, is additional permit fees. Depending on the city and depending on circumstances, that can be spendy indeed, yeah? So your sweet spot is anything under 750 square feet. Now, your sweet spot is anything under 16 square feet, which is basically real high ceilings or maybe even a loft, right? Can you go higher? Yeah, you can go higher, but the city has a vote at that point. Some of them will let you do it, some of them will not. So can you do a 2-story ADU? Yes, but now you've got to get the city's approval, and that may or may not happen depending on your municipality. the best ROI. Everybody in this room is real estate agents. I don't know about people who are streaming, but all of you know that your best ROI is going to be your detached ADU, right? Because you're gonna get the most amount of rent, you're gonna have the most amount of flexibility for the lifetime of your home ownership in how you use that ADU. And a lot of people are looking at ADUs as an income play right now, but age-in-place options later on. You want a detached ADU if you can fit that into your backyard, yeah? Parking. No requirement to add off-street parking. Now, this is not a complete blanket. No matter what you do, you don't have to add parking. There are caveats. You need to be within a half mile of walking distance, not as a crow flies, walking distance to a mass transportation spot. So for those of you who are selling homes out in the boonies and the toolies, that may not be the situation. You may need to add off-street parking, okay? But in general, you do not need to add additional parking. This is a huge one. It was one of the biggest parts of the 2020 laws that were passed. Property taxes, as our esteemed member of the tax assessment office said, does not trigger a complete reassessment. You get a blended tax record, which adds the assessed value of the ADUs. In our opinion, in the ADU industry, tax assessors and appraisers are behind what the cost of the actual bills are right now. The velocity of costs for labor, materials, and everything else has just gone through the roof. And as he said, they update the manual once a year. This is to your benefit. This is to your benefit, okay? So, and that will change. All right, let's talk about the cost, because everyone wants to know, what is this going to cost? All right, here's the most important thing that I need you to remember, and remember to talk to your clients. The most expensive part of any home build is going to be that first 350 square feet, because there are fixed costs that are going to happen no matter how big your structure is. You could be building a 4,000 square foot house, and your fixed costs are going to be about the same as building your 350 square foot studio ADU. So that's why we as real estate agents, and I'm in the same seat as you are, that's why we say to our clients, yes, little houses cost more per square foot than big houses. Isn't it amazing that also applies to ADUs? So think about it. It's even more drastic when we're at a 350 square foot studio, yeah? So just remember that as you're going through that. The cost to build, highly individual. This is going to be your design, this is going to be your finishes, this is going to be, did you do that 2-story? Also, your site, is your site flat or is it sloped? Does it have a lot of concrete that we got to get out of there? Is your soil bad? I mean, there's so many things that are unique to the site and the individual ADU that it's almost impossible to tell you what your ADU is going to cost, okay? Hard costs are for sticks, bricks, and the labors that it takes to install them. Soft cost is everything else. Now, I'm just going to talk to you because, I'm a real estate agent. I'm not a contractor. I don't know all the stuff that she knows. She knows a lot of stuff. I'm a real estate agent, okay? So, but you guys are too. So here's the thing. I hear soft costs and I'm like, wow, no big deal, right? I'm thinking about sticks and bricks. I can tell you, dudes, soft costs are a lot. It's the design fees, the permit fees, the engineering fees, the soil fees, the site prep fees. This is stuff that we don't think about and we weren't taught to think about. So when your clients ask you, how much does an ADU cost? And you go to your contractor, who by the way, only remodeled the bathroom, the cabinets in your kitchen, and they say, oh yeah, it should be about $350 a square foot. Maybe he's just talking about hard costs, so be careful about that. All right, but I'm not going to leave you with no information, because that's what you came for, is information. So this is a chart that I swiped from a presentation I attended for Maximal Homes, one of the biggest ADU consultants out there in the state. And this is what Caitlin said. Your garage conversion, hard costs, not soft costs. This is just sticks, bricks, and the labor to put them in, yeah? Hard costs, $110,000 on average. A 1-bedroom, $225,000. A 2-bedroom, about $275,000, and a 2 to 3 bedroom, you're looking at about $375,000. What are your soft costs going to add on to that? Somewhere between $40,000 and maybe even as high as $100,000, depending on what's going on. But $40,000 to $60,000 should do ya, but it could be more. Yeah. All right. How long does it take before I launch into this? Permits are a huge wild card, people. You heard her, she's so right. I mean, she's dead nut right on this one. It could be 4 months, it could be 6 months. Depending on your municipality, and your mileage may vary, I've heard of the horror stories of 8 months and more. Where are these people? I mean, we're still paying for them, right? I mean, are they working? Like, what are they doing? I don't know, I don't get it, but that's just the reality. So if you're gonna be site building, you need to, if your client says, I want something for my mother-in-law and I want it like as soon as possible, like in 6 months, 9 months, ain't gonna happen if it's site built. Okay, it's just not gonna happen. You're looking after design and everything that you need to do. You're probably looking at somewhere between a year to a year and 3/4, and that's only if you work with an architect and you respond to that architect immediately, you make decisions decisively, and you don't penny-ante around. That's the only way you're gonna get it done in a year, okay? All right, and prefab, sorry, I forgot to tell you that. And come on, I can do, go back. Technical difficulties. Yeah, so prefab, which is what we originally wanted to do only because of the speed and convenience and also because of the permits. When you do prefab, the permitting is done at the factory. So a lot of the kerfuffle that you deal with in site built does not happen with pre-built because it's done at the factory. Now, we still need to get permits for utility connections and the foundation, but that is a lot less than what we have to do when we site build things, yeah? So prefab, right now, given where my factory times are, we should be able to, assuming that we can get the permits in 4 months, and God only knows that can happen. But if that does happen, we're looking at about 9 months from concept to keys. All right, here's a watch it, out it, okay? First things first. Every contractor who is worth their salt is busier than a bee who has seen a flower of lavender, a field of lavender, right? I mean, they are so busy they cannot find time to go pee. So what has happened? It means that every contractor is just like, that is really, really good, is probably busy. And so you're just trying to find a contractor who will just freaking answer the phone. I bet you she answers the phone, that's cool. But I bet you she does. Do you answer the phone? I bet you do.
I tried to.
Right, okay, all right, well, you know, you look like the type that would. I mean, it's hard to get a contractor to even call you back. And so when you do get a contractor, they might be a guy who says, yeah, I can totally build your ADU, but he's only ever, or she has only done remodeling. A remodeling contractor does not have the same experience or knowledge to build a whole house in the backyard. Doesn't mean you shouldn't work with them, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you need to ask some questions and you need to be prepared for some chaos, okay? So just remember that, that's a big one. Number 2, and I already mentioned this, permits are a super big wild card. Number 3, utility gotchas. Now, if you sold this house to your client, you probably got the sewer scoped. Good on you. So many times when you build an ADU, you get into the project, you set your budget, everything's good, you break ground, you find out that the sewer line's got a major problem. Ooh, that just upped your bill by $15,000. That's an unpleasant surprise, and as I say, surprises should only come in a blue Tiffany box. So utilities are big, get your sewer scope ahead of time if it hasn't already been scoped, so you know what might be going there. And the other one is the electric box. Yeah, if you've got a house that was built in the 50s and 60s, it's got a 100-amp box and everything is just, you know, hunky-dory, you add an ADU and you're gonna be popping another, going up to 200 amps. You've got a bigger house and you've got a 200-amp box, depending on how you're using that electricity, and I got more computers than I know what to do with, and I have a Tesla, so I'm gonna have to go to a 400-amp box. That's gonna add several $1,000s to your budget, another unpleasant surprise that could be avoided by just opening up the panel and knowing. Now, all of our ADUs do have solar energy panels, but it's not enough to compensate for the additional draw, yeah? So just know that up front. Let's see, number 4, larger, not better, no matter what that boy you're dating tells you. Larger is not better. What's better is great design. Great design is going to help you live large in the space. High ceilings, big doors, lots of windows, air, light, space, the flow of the floor plan. That's what matters way more than max square feet. So when your client says, I want to build a 1,200 square foot ADU, you better ask them the same darn questions you asked them when they bought the house from you. What do you want to use it for? How do you want to use it? And how much money do you want to spend? Yeah, so just be aware of that. And then the last one is just beware, beware of the quick bid. If you call up your favorite contractor and say, how much is it going to cost to build an ADU? And that guy says, I can do that for about $350 a square. Dude hasn't seen the site, dude doesn't know what kind of quality you want to build, dude doesn't know anything about your finishes, dude doesn't know nothing. So $350, kind of a nice little thumb of rule, but it's not really going to apply to you. Be aware of that, yeah? Okay, what is the process to building an ADU? My opinion, but I'm the one holding the mic. First, you want to do a check of your backyard. Now, you can do it super, super easy. You can go to Symbian.com. This is a free website. It's also a benefit of our CAR membership. They just announced that one yesterday. That was super cool. It's a free membership. Fire it up, put in the address, and that will tell you everything that you need to know about the local laws. It also gives you the plot map. You can even put in My ADU and stick it right in your backyard and see if it flits, spin it around, move it around, see how you like it, yeah? Now that's really cool, but you're not going to remember Symbian, and it's really hard to spell. So you can either call me or call our esteemed colleague in the back. We can look it up for you, tell you in 2 seconds whether or not it is. If you're shopping with your client, have me on speed dial. Text me if I'm not on stage like I am right now. I will look it up and I will text you back because that Symbian is on my desktop 24/7. Yeah. Number 2, you want an on-site feasibility report. Now this is a new service that I just launched. You can have myself or one of my colleagues visit the site, walk the lot, talk to your client and you, and we will help you understand the characteristics of that lot and that municipality that would factor into your ability to add a detached ADU. I'm charging $400 for that report, $50 off for anybody who says they were here and they talked to me and laughed at my jokes. You had to laugh at my jokes. Otherwise, you don't get $50 off. No. Okay, the third, yeah, now everybody's laughing. No, I didn't need a sympathy, ha ha ha. No, seriously, okay. Design, documentation, and permits is where the pedal really hits the metal. This is where you finalize the design, your options, make sure that it's engineered properly. This is where you get your documentation together. And this is also where we go through plan check, which is the thing you need to do. Everybody thinks, oh my God, it's so hard to get permits. No. The permit is just giving lots of money. It's plan check you have to get through, and that's where the kerfuffle is. So design, documentation, and permits, which is really a plan check, that's where you want to be working with the person that you want to be working with. We typically charge 10 to 15% of the total project to get that done, yeah? So that's important, and that's what's going to take the most amount of time. And the last bit is construction. All right. Everybody wants to know about SB 9. I am not an SB 9 expert. I just know more than your average bear, and I play an expert on television. So what is SB 9? That is Senate Bill 9, and this is the bill that allows, we call it the lot split law. You don't actually have to split your lot. It's just the easiest way to think of what this bill is trying to do. The bill is trying to help us with our massive housing crisis, to take advantage of the fact that some people own ginormous lots or just larger lots, and they're just not using that land. And drought, it's dead anyway, right? So why not use it to help yourself economically, create more housing, and make our state an easier place to live in, more affordable, where the teachers and the policemen and the service people can actually afford to live here, yeah? So each lot that you have created, and the minimum size of the new lot is 1,250 square feet. Someone's going to ask me, so I'm just going to say that, 1,250 square feet. So each lot can have a house and an ADU or a duplex. So where there was once one lot and one living space can now be 2 lots and 4 living spaces. See how that works? We're making more housing, which is super cool. Now, this only works if you have a single family lot or something that sounds like R1, yeah? Excuse me. And the homeowner must live on one of the 2 lots for 3 years. Okay, so think about it. Betty, remember Betty? I talked about her. She's the one who's got Jeff. What she could do, if she wanted to, is she could do an SB 9 if she qualified, and she could build a house for her older son, for him to live in, And Jeff could continue living in the house that he grew up in, has been in the house since he was a baby, potentially. It creates housing for the older son, plus it creates a asset that he can sell and buy and start that homeowner wealth building journey that we all talk about, right? So really, really good thing for certain people. Now, and you have to have a separate utility meter. Now here's the thing. SB 9, this is the first year, it's a brand new law. We hope that it will get expanded, but right now, it has got really, really limited use. Why? Because they need the cities to kind of like, it's just like, this is like dipping the baby toe into the water, right? So the way it stands right now, you cannot use SB 9 if you're an HOA, if you're in a historic overlay neighborhood, and if you're in a high fire hazard zone, okay? There's a lot of gray area in this rule, and so cities who are resistant to having more density are making rules that make this law effectively non-existent. So there was a study by the Turner Housing Center that said that about 6% of all of the property in California would qualify for SB 9 the way it's written, right? So this is not a bonanza that you're going to be able to get your clients to split their lots and now you're going to have a whole bunch of new listings. But it is a useful one. And again, there is a platform called homestead.io, I believe that's what it is, that will, you put the property address in and it'll tell you more or less whether or not your property will qualify for SB 9. I also have that one fired up 24/7, so just text me. Huh?
Can you repeat that?
Homestead.io, I believe that's what the address is. I'm sorry? H-O-M, do you want me to spell? No, I don't do that. H-O-M-S-T-E-A-D, Homestead. Homestead, yeah. All right. One thing I just wanted to say on the subject of ADUs and HOAs. An HOA cannot say no. Legally, they cannot say no. We're working with an HOA in Home Park right now. Oh my God, they are trying to say no so hard. And I'm just like looking at them, I'm like, don't make me send you a lawyer nasty gram. You're not gonna like it. You better say yes, because you're not gonna like this nasty gram. Oh man, they're trying so hard. So, are you legally allowed to do HOA? Yes. Will the HOA throw a big old 3-year-old temper tantrum fit? Absolutely. Will they tell you that it is not possible, or will they make stupid rules to try to stop you from doing it? Yes, they will. Can they? No, a lawyer can send nasty gram. They're gonna have to toe the line. Okay. Okay, the last one was just basically pictures of my team. What I wanted to let you know is that we do have an award-winning team with over 25 years of experience in the production housing business. That means they build tract homes, high-end luxury tract homes in Orange County. They've applied that knowledge and that expertise to the ADU build, because we're ADU Digs. We like to help you build gorgeous ADUs in your backyard, simply and cost-effective. So, I'm Kendall.
Excellent. Great
I told
job.
you I was today's entertainment.
And you were. Lots of information. Thank you so much. So we are going to have Q&A, but first we're going to have our sponsors come in and they are going to raffle off some goodies. So if you have not put your card in their basket, you may want to pull it out when they come in. You can do that. I'm going to go back to this side. Alrighty. Put your cards in. You don't have to go out there.
Put a card in.
Ay,
kita ba sila?
We have.
John.
Yeah.
Got it? Good.
All right, John.
This is not just an unassuming cooler bag, but it has something inside, waxy foil. Nice. Right now.
Okay.
Okay.
You too? I thought you were one.
We each did like 3 different size.
You know, I'm not gonna be the one that selects it. I'm gonna let one of our guests.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That way,
Why do you think I'm?
that way they can't blame me. So I tried to follow you on live stream, but it wouldn't work. And they didn't have a speaker up there. So I'm gonna hold it up.
Vilma.
Vilma? Lucky Vilma, see, it was very unanimous and magnanimous. Come on up here, Vilma. Come on up here, please, and take a picture. Here, I'll do it this way if you'd like.
Oh, look what I got.
Enjoy.
3, 2, 1, smile. One more.
One more. No running, no running.
Thank you
Get
so
little
much,
friends.
Snap NHD.
And I didn't
All
select
right.
your song. Thank you so much.
So next is Marlon from Only Escrow.
All right, enjoy this.
You guys, anybody else?
I'm sorry.
There you go. You got it all.
One more card.
There you go.
One more card. We have another raffle here. If you didn't get your card.
This is a $50 American Express card.
Ooh.
I love your joke, so I'm gonna let you pick the winner. Anybody else not in here, June? You wanna put yours in here?
Mila de Silva. There you go.
Very nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marlon from Only Escrow. And now we have Tammy from One Trust Home Loans.
So I have a $25 gift card, but I have it at my office. So whoever wins, I'll call you and we'll meet. Because I was gonna pull the drawing this weekend, but hope you guys don't mind. All right, you ready? You see what it's on? Don't look at me. It is Adela Martinez. Okay, Adela, I have it at my office.
Thank you so much, Tammy, from One Trust Home Loans. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do a 5 to 7 minute Q&A. So if you have any questions for any 4 of these wonderful speakers today, please raise your hand. We're going to grab, Patty, can you grab the mic and take it around to that? Yeah. Which one? That one. Oh, here, take this one. Oh, take that one. And then you, if you guys want to speak, just grab a mic. All right.
This question may be for the panel. We have made the ADU 8 months ago and waiting for the city to come and put the DWP to come and put the meter. Same problem is with gas company. It has been 6 months and city, we cannot go to their office. We send them emails. They do not respond to most of the phone calls. LACT is totally non-supportive for all these ADUs. So before anybody tries that, I have wasted 1.5 years. City employees, and if you call their supervisors, I even call city councilmen, there is no response. All these good talks is just good talks before you invest your money. And I want to make sure whoever is responsible or who is talking to city, I can give you addresses, 2 ADUs, 2 different properties. They don't send any inspectors. Inspectors give dates, they never show up. This has been going on for 1.5 years. And after even COVID became better, for last 6 months it should be better. So I want to warn everybody, and if somebody can help me, this is all good talks. When you really build it,
you will see the reality. I'm 70,000 deep in hole. My property is still just waiting for certain things from city to do. LACP, don't do it in ADU in LACP.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a question in that?
Yes, I want, if anybody can help me, what should I do to get my meter? Which agency should we contact to get our meter? We paid for the money. We paid the contractor.
Any idea?
Any idea where should I start?
It's not common, it does happen sometimes. I've had maybe out of 100 ADUs, 3 properties that took 8 months to get the meter. But you still have power, you still have a bill, you still have
But we
everything.
can't rent. There is no mailbox
Did
because
you-
unless there is a meter and an address, we cannot rent it.
Did you take the temporary power pole out?
Yes, we have the temporary power.
You still have the temporary power pole?
Yes,
They didn't release it?
no.
They should have released it. Did you get final inspection and signed off
We
by
got the
everybody?
occupancy permit, but no, we have the final occupancy permit, but no meter.
And nothing's holding you back? There's not one red flag or
Nothing.
correction or
I
anything?
have a final occupancy permit. And LADWP, it's very, very hard. And
Email
building
me,
and
I'm gonna
safety.
give you my information.
Sure.
Email me because I dealt with this in Encino and I got it done. So I
Thank
can.
you, I will talk to you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Patty,
This is probably, I'm sorry, what was Candy? It's probably more towards Candy. Kendall. What do you tell someone, or anybody actually, but what do you tell someone if they who wants to do their own, be their own GC, be their own contractor? Is it worth it? What's the cost difference and savings?
Your cost, your mileage will vary. It depends on you and your skill set. I mean, I'm so sorry I don't know your name. Annie, you're awesome. Annie is the one you want to talk to. She's probably going to give you a better answer than I do. Me, I'm one of those people that if I can hire an expert to do something, that's what I do. That's just my own personal way of doing things. Even though I love to knit, there's certain things I'll learn, many things I won't. So
it depends on your skill set. What do you know how to do? Can you pour a foundation? Can you tie rebar? Do you know the depth of a footing? If you can, do it. But if you can't, don't, because you're gonna spend more money trying to do it yourself with people who don't know what they're doing than you hiring a contractor who knows what they're doing.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Kendall, regarding the SB9, I know you said you don't want to go in depth in it, but just a quick question. You said the owner has to live in it 3 years.
yes, one of the lots.
So since it's like a lot split, like a lot division, can they sell the second
Yes.
lot?
Yeah, you can split the lot.
So they can still live in one and
Correct.
sell the other one, even
Correct.
though they are not 3 years in it.
Correct, no, yeah, you just need to stay, so basically, they didn't want developers to come in, buy a bunch of houses, split off the lots and create a whole bunch of density, and not live there. The real intent of the law in the beginning was the idea that you could actually create property for your family. That was the original intent. It's morphed beyond that, but yeah, so Mom and Pa Kent, they live in a big lot, yeah, they split it off, and let's just say that in one universe, they split off the lot, got it all done and fixed and what have you, and then they sold the empty lot, pocketed the cash, went to Aruba, okay? In another universe, Mom and Pa Kent split the lot, they hired Annie to build a house and an ADU and put all that, and then they sold the house and the ADU to somebody else, not even related to them, and they stayed living in their front house. That's how it works.
And is there a limit for a lot, like square footage?
The minimum lot size, the minimum size for the new lot is 1,250 square feet. I assume that means that the lot remaining is at least 1,250 square feet.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
Actually, I have somebody with a question back here, sorry, just a minute.
Hi, my question is for Kendall. Kendall, so I'm personally looking into producing an ADU in our backyard, and I read up
We
on
can
your
talk.
And sorry.
We can talk.
Okay, great. And I have a few questions for you for your company. So one is, if we were to hire your company, does your company actually do the ADU, or do you bid it out?
It will depend on your location and your chosen way of construction. If it's prefab, we take care of everything. Our set crew is actually my contractor partner, because one of my partners is a licensed 28 years worth of experience. He built his first ADU for Ronald Reagan in the 70s. Oh my God. Yeah, but if it's outside of the area, if it's site built and it's outside of his service area, I've got 2 companies that I'm in the process of forming a relationship with. We can talk. Because I'm not a contractor.
Got it. And then I have 2 more questions. My other question is, you mentioned solar. So solar usually comes with some type of lease. Does a person like me have the option of not taking the solar? Or
No, it's the law. I mean, there are certain circumstances under which you are not required to add solar panels, but not a lot of them. And the solar panels is part of our packaged bid. And it's purchased, not leased. Purchasing is becoming actually more common than leased.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
Got it. And then my last question is the SB9. So if we wanted, when we put this house in the back, and say we did want to do the SB9, I'm assuming the SB9 is a lot split. Does that take more time to be approved on a lot split? Or
Depends on your city. Results
City of LA.
vary, very widely. So City of Los Angeles is probably one of the best in our major metropolitan areas for SB9. They ranked a B+ on the homestead.il platform for, being friendly to that. It's still something that's taking many months to do. And you don't have to split your lot. It's just that if you're building your second structure under SB9, it follows different rules than the ADUs. So you could build, say, a 2,400 square foot house on your lot if it's an SB9, right?
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. What's preventing, maybe it's local ordinances, or maybe you could speak of just other reasons, that's preventing greater numbers of ADUs in Palmdale, Lancaster? Maybe from an investor perspective.
Okay, well,
make more sense.
I can only answer it from my perspective. We are not a low-cost product. We are not the ones that would be a good competitor for a glorified tough shed, yeah? And the properties out in Palm Desert, up until very recently, were not worth enough money for it to make sense to pay the cost for my product. So I'm not well versed in answering that question as to other more practical and lower cost solutions, yeah? But for me, it's just money and
It
ROI.
would still be cheaper to do an ADU than buy a house.
Well, okay, so like my structures, remember what I said at the very top?
I get it. You're
Yeah.
not the person, I get it.
Well, no. You can build a little house. You could build one of my houses out in Palmdale. But if it's not attached to another house, it's not an ADU, it's just a house.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, you could totally do that if you wanted to.
All right, we have one over here.
I think he was.
Right here, Patty.
That's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Thank you. A couple things on the information you guys gave on the meters. Are you able to get all meters, gas, electric, and water, or not? Because I've heard and experienced different things.
You are able to get all, it just costs a lot more, so a lot of homeowners don't want to do that.
Okay, because the water meter is the one that I keep seeing as one for both, for the entire property.
But what's the size of your pipe? Is it 3/4 inch? Is it 1 inch? A lot of people don't know. You need to upgrade the supply line coming from the street to the house. Sometimes it's not adequate.
So basically, it's all allowed, it's just time and money and all that?
Time and money.
Okay, and then on the other, I think Kenny, you mentioned the magic number of 750 or less. So what about hillside and things like that? They have to let you do it?
Well, there are certain places where it's harder, they could say no, like for example, in areas where the Coastal Commission has authority, they can complicate matters. I'm still not, from what I read on the laws, and I've spoken with the Malibu Association of Realtors, and they gave me conflicting information of what they've experienced. It's still unclear how much power they have to say completely no.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here, the benefit of being here. And we can ask more questions. John, if we can have you just come up here, and any questions, come up behind John, that way Patsy doesn't have to run around the room and we can get everyone's questions answered. Thank you very much.
Hi, Kendall, you mentioned that if I have a garage that's right up against the property line, I can't convert it if I'm expanding upon the size of the garage, correct? So just to clarify, I do have a garage that's right up against one side of the property. So I could not, for instance, if I wanted to like build an office as a second floor on top of the garage, can't do it. You can't expand that structure at all because it's against the property line. Not without even any special permission. Okay.
Well, I don't know about the special permissions.
Right, okay.
That would depend, I think, on the city, but
I see.
my understanding of it, and Annie, yeah.
Well,
You
it's
need
LA.
to meet today's code. You need to
Yeah.
be 4 feet away from the property.
Basically, the cities are looking at the garages on the property line as something that creates higher fire hazard. And so they look at this as an opportunity to say, oh, you want to expand it 4 feet to make it a little bit bigger? Yeah, you need to knock that whole thing down. Start over.
For me, anyway. All right.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Oh, up there. You have to walk up.
Oh, that's all right. I'll come forward.
It's an easy question. I don't think I need a mic.
Okay.
I've been told. Cost, stick built versus prefab, is there much more cost savings?
When I started this company, prefab was on parity for stick built. That's when I started this company. Now, prefab has become quite in demand in certain areas. And so we have a constraint of factory space as well as transportation costs. How much is gas per gallon? Yeah, so prefab right now is actually significantly more expensive than site built, which is why we've added site building to our menu of services. Yeah. I mean, it's way faster, way more convenient. Right now, you're gonna be paying for it.
Are your prefab built on a foundation or they are like a mobile home with the serial number?
No, thank you for asking that question. So there's a common myth that prefab is the same thing as what you see in a mobile home park, right? So there is two types of modular or factory built homes. There are the ones that were built in the factory according to HUD manufacturing standards. And those are the standards that dictate how RVs get built, as well as mobile homes in a trailer home park, yeah? And then there is the Universal Building Code, which is what we follow. So we're building actually above what most local codes are, because we have to qualify for the whole darn state. And this is the same factory and the same method that is used to build luxury hotels and apartment buildings and shopping centers. Yeah.
Thank you.
If I wanted to get, by the way, thank you for everyone for all the information. I personally, want to get an ADU built in my own home, and I also do get questions from clients about ADUs in general. So this has been great. Question for Annie, how much due diligence do I have to do in order to get the real world estimate beyond the price per square foot, price that people throw out all the time? I imagine someone like you would have to go on site, and how much of the plan do you have to actually throw out before you go, okay, this is how much it's going to cost? That's reasonably accurate, I guess.
The smartest contractor bids when you have a stamped plan in front of us. That's the smartest contractor. But if you just want an idea, have them come to the site. Because a lot of times the sewer line, how long is the sewer line going to be? You can't connect it to the house. The sewer line has to bypass the house and then connect. You could never connect. A lot of people, even contractors, don't know that. It's funny how many times I run into that. So it just depends how long is the run, where is everything located. So have them come to the site so you can get the closest number to what it's gonna cost. But you can get a general idea. But once the approved plan is there, or you have some type of plan, you can get an exact price on it.
So they would have to come out, inspect the place.
A lot of them don't. They're gonna say it's $150 a foot. Don't do it that way. It's not $150 a foot. There's HERS testing, there's soil testing, there's structural, there's so many things that people don't know that are involved in it. They think, oh, it's an ADU, it's easy. There's a lot of things that go into it. But have them come out. Have them come out and say, look, my house is here, but my sewer line has to be connected here. That's 150 feet, or maybe it's 30 feet. So get all that pricing done. And back to the first question you asked, if you want to do the drywall and the flooring and the insulation and do the easier things, do it to save money. But the foundation, the framing and the roof and electrical, have a licensed contractor do it.
Got it. That's great advice. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Well, I guess that will end our event today. Let's give a round of applause for our panel. Thank you guys so much. And like I said before, we will send out the assessor's presentation because we had a little technical difficulty. Thank you guys so much. You have a great evening, a great day.
Yes.